Miigwech, Ani, Poro, there's no cause at Burt Reynolds. In some circles. But I've been here since yesterday and listening to all the wonderful things that have been going on, and the proclamation, and our two new chiefs, our old chiefs being reinstated, and that's a milestone. I was really happy to see that and experience that, and it gave me a good feeling that all these chiefs are in unison, that they're all on the same page, and that was a really good feeling as an observer, I guess. I was thinking about this document, and I've been on this governance working group since I don't even know, since it first started. I recall when Chief Madabi came to our community about somewhere over close to 20 years ago and did a presentation on it. So I guess that's about how long I've been involved with this. But I've been doing a lot of reflecting, and something just touched me a minute ago, and I was listening to the chiefs talking, and it was around that time, about 20 years ago, when I was sitting on our council back home, and we got a letter from INAC saying our dog bylaw was proclaimed. I was really insulted. I said, is this where we're at as Anishinabek people? We have to get permission from INAC to implement a bylaw to control our dogs. I was really insulted. But 20 years later, here we are talking about our own constitution. So, you know, when I weigh those years of the hard work that was put into this by all our communities, all our representatives, all the working group members, all the technical people, and all the chiefs that were advocating on behalf of this document, I think that says a lot, that we are ready to have a constitution. I worked in child welfare for over 30 years. And when that Section 10 was enacted back in the early 80s, I jumped on board. I got involved in child welfare. And I've been to just about every province in Canada and United States advocating on behalf of our children. And one of the key things the judges always ask us, what do you have in your community? And you know, the only thing that Section 10 reflects for our communities, what is your customs and your traditions? That's it. I'd go to court and be slamming my fist on the desk with the other lawyers and telling the judges and the lawyers what are our customs and our traditions. And they come up with case laws on what precedents has been made. And they'd ask me, do you have any case law? I said, no, all we have is our customs and our traditions. Having this constitution would give us the ability to challenge the court system on just about any legal issue that is brought before the courts. And it would help us set precedents on court matters. That's my interest. So that we can start setting some precedents at the court and the judicial level, so that when we do have to go into that legal forum, our leaders will have what those other nations want, and not just our oral history on customs and traditions. So I'm very attached to this document for that specific reason. But not only that, there's other areas And we know it's happening. Even back home in my community, we got these mining companies coming in and trying to make deals with us. What have we got to protect ourselves? We don't have a whole lot other than their fair word, which since 1850 we know where that word stands. So we have our land code back home. We finally got it proclaimed at the community level. And our land code tells us that we can start creating our own bylaws around our land code. But if we don't have a constitution at the community level, how are we going to enforce those bylaws? And if they're ever challenged, how are we going to protect our rights at the community level if we don't have a constitution? And that's being asked at the court level right now. What do you have as a community or a nation to protect yourselves? We don't have nothing. So that is just some of my interest. Thank goodness for our dogs. They got the wheels turning. Something really ironic happened as a result of that bylaw. Once we started having to tie up our dogs, the bears start coming around. So we had to get a motion to rescind that bylaw so the dogs can chase the bears away. So I guess the dogs still rule. Anyway, just to give you some historical background, back in June of 2011 in Alderville, it was brought forward to the Grand Council for acceptance and proclamation. And the Grand Council of Chiefs decided that one more year was needed to complete the Constitution document and further discuss with the Anishinaabe citizens. Only the preamble of the Constitution was accepted and proclaimed in June of 2011. So that was last year down in Alderville. They also passed a resolution, a declaration of commitment, and it said, be it finally resolved that a detailed work plan be prepared, complete with cost, and sent to each of the Anishinaabe First Nations by July the 8th, 2011, to continue on with the development of the go the way. If I had my teeth and I'd be able to say it. But it's something like that. Wanagazi, yeah, that's close. For ratification and proclamation at the Grand Council Assembly of 2012. And as a result of that, a steering committee was identified to complete the work of the Anishinaabe Chi-Naaknigewin. And I believe Chief Day touched a little bit about that steering committee comprised of the chiefs to work collectively with the governance working group. The Anishinaabe Chi-Naaknigewin document was reviewed and revised as directed by chiefs. Discussion at the June 2011 Grand Council in Alderville. A newly revised document dated October 12, 2011, including the sanctioned, what's that again? Thank you. I won't even attempt it. Was put forward to the chiefs for review. Now, the steering committee's approach was to address issues raised by taking out details which had bogged down the discussion and the process. And as many of you recall, there was a lot of discussions and it was hashed and rehashed. And that was the job of the steering committee to make it more user-friendly. Build on the work done in the past over a lengthy development and consultation process. Now that's been 14 years since that the consultations have been going on. and maintain the spirit and the intent of the former draft Constitution while making it more fundamental and basic. And again, in layman's terms, so that not only the technicians and the legal people can understand it, but also our citizens. So when they pick up a document, they can read it and understand it. And to state what will be done and not how it will be done. Details of how the Anishinaabe Nation government will operate are left to future discussions of Grand Council, the lawmaking body under the advisement of the elders, women, and youth councils. And as many of you who've seen the draft copies, those are all inclusions that are part of the document. There was a special assembly in November of 2011, and the October 12th Chi-Naaknigewin was unanimously accepted in principle by chiefs in assembly with the following mandate: that the community discussions continue to March of 2012. Feedback from these discussions be taken into consideration in the final review of the Anishinaabe Chi-Naaknigewin in April 2012, and the chiefs acquire a community mandate and work diligently to proclaim the Anishinaabe Chi-Naaknigewin. So what has happened recently? The community engagement strategy continues to inform and engage citizens in discussions and clan teachings relevant to the Anishinaabe Chi-Naaknigewin. 6 community sessions were conducted. Governance working group members were trained to assist First Nation discussions, and various communication tools were created, including videos and fact documents. Many of you seen that there was a video, and it was on the, I watched it at home on my computer, that there was a video presentation done live. The Anishinaabe News, the Anishinaabe Nation website, a live webcast, and social media were all part of reaching on and off reserve citizens. So a lot of work has been done. But the other point I'd like to pass on is the document is a living, working document. It's something we know that all our communities are not same. Some of us are better looking, like Mississauga. Some of us are rounder and browner. And we wanted to make this document so that it can be adaptable to each community, so that it can be modified to the norms of each community. And that's what we're doing back home in my community. We're emphasizing that, hey, this is not a union document. This is a Mississauga First Nation document. The union document, we're part of the umbrella. So that's how we're building it back home. And like the chiefs have talked about, it's not today that the impacts are going to happen. It's those 7 generations down the road where they're going to be, and I think Chief here put it so eloquently. What are we going to tell our citizens back home when we go back home after this gathering and telling them, well, it wasn't accepted? We know what's going to happen. We're going to get scolded. And we should be scolded if we don't. Because much work, and people know in our communities, they know the importance of what's happening. They know the future and how shaky it is. But we have to have something that is going to protect ourselves. So that is my part, and I say, Miigwech, thank you for listening to me. I have some Roger Daybutch CDs. Limited supply, they're on sale, and they're, yeah. Come out and I'll sing the Chi-Naaknigewin Proclamation Blues tonight. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Roger.